Hey everyone, Eric here. In this video, we're checking out the Boss HM-2 Heavy Metal. Hey everyone, Eric here. Welcome to the channel where I make gear demos and instructional videos aimed to help musicians like you. In this video, we're checking out the Boss HM-2 Heavy Metal pedal, which is often mentioned for its super aggressive and chainsaw type sound. But in this video, we're going over all of the sounds in the pedal. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this setup, I'm using my first act Delgada, running into the Boss HM-2, then into the front of my Rocket Retro RR100, which is super lead replica, set pretty clean, just like this. So let's go ahead and dive into the features of the HM-2. As you can see, we have a level. We have two color controls, which are like our EQ controls. We have a low or an L, and we have an H or high. And also, in addition to that, we have the drive control, which is labeled distortion or DIST. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward distortion pedal. So let's go ahead and set all the controls to noon and see what it sounds like. Here's a clean guitar. So if we look at the controls, on the left here we have level, which is our output volume. If you turn it all the way down, you don't get anything. But as you turn it up, you get a louder sound. I'm gonna leave it around 75% right now. Now let's go ahead and skip over to the other side of the pedal for the gain control. Now the gain control is pretty particular. It doesn't really have a whole bunch of sweep. If we turn it on low gain, one thing is cool is that you don't lose all your signal. At minimum, you still get signal coming through the pedal. You can hear that it's more like an overdrive sound. Let's go ahead and turn it up a little bit. So as you saw there, it's getting pretty saturated really quickly. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that after about, 9 o'clock kind of on the dial, you start to hear less of a difference when you increase it. It's actually kind of a really nice low gain sound there. Yeah, so the gain range, while it is really drastic from low gain to high gain, the travel, like the taper of the pot, I guess is what it would be, is kind of like after you get up to like 30 or 40%, you're not really adding a whole bunch when you turn it all the way up. So we do have that wide gain range in there, which is really useful for a variety of different, sounds and music genres that you can play this pedal with. Moving on, we have the EQ controls. Now the EQ controls in the HM-2 are really powerful. It's an active EQ setup, which means at noon, just like they are right now, they're not boosting or cutting any of the frequencies. If we want to cut the frequency, attenuate it, or lessen that frequency, we can take either one of these knobs and turn it down past noon. Conversely, if we want to boost that frequency, we can turn them up past noon. And now this EQ setup is almost like a graphic EQ pedal where you have really narrow bands of EQ that you can boost a lot or a little, however much you want really. So let's go ahead and hear the bass control on the HM-2. First, we'll start with low gain. So you can hear that it's really boosting that bass. So that's all the way up. And that's flat. There's a lot of bass in that pedal. Let's go ahead and move on to the high, or the H control. We're at low gain, high is at noon, so we're not boosting or cutting. As you can hear, when we boost that high control, it's got this really like vocal, like kind of nasally mid-range quality almost, and that's because the high is controlled to two bands of EQ, one at like a higher frequency, one at like a higher mid-range frequency. Both of those EQ controls add up to a really versatile and really powerful EQ section. Let's go ahead and see how the EQ controls sit with the gain at a higher setting. So we've got it up at like 60%. Now we're getting close to the sound that the HM-2 is probably most known for, the really heavy, aggressive chainsaw type sound, made famous by bands in the death metal genre, a whole bunch of heavy bands, and that is where everything is maxed out. Again, I wanted to show the versatility of this pedal, not just that every knob up at full and different playing styles. So hopefully you found that helpful. I am going to now max out everything so we can see how it sounds. We're on the bridge pickup, which is this P90. And you can tell the pedal has so much gain and so much volume in it that if you're at this setting and you just kind of stop playing, everything squeals and it's crazy. The HM-2 has a really cult following because of that signature setting, the chainsaw sound. It's inspired a lot of pedal builders to make their own version of the circuit. So it's got a whole bunch of people that love it for that setting and just love the use of the circuit in general. So there are a lot of different takes from different pedal companies out on the market right now, but there are also some companies that do direct clones of the HM-2. Most notably, maybe, is the Behringer HM-300 heavy metal. Now, recently I did a video where I compared the Boss HM-2 to the Behringer HM-300 side by side, head to head, just to see how they sound different. If you are curious to see that, I will leave a link in the description below and in the cards above. I want to sidestep now and give some love to the bass players out there, because I know that there are some bass players who love using the HM-2 on their signal chain. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug my bass in. We're gonna see how it sounds through the HM-2. So now we have my Fender Jazz Bass Standard plugged into the heavy metal HM-2, going into the same amp, same settings. That sounds pretty heavy, and I think it's really useful to have that style EQ, that really powerful EQ where you can really boost your low end, and that's super helpful for bass, especially the way that I like to hear bass is with a lot of low end and not a whole bunch of like high end sparkliness in it. Let's go ahead and turn the gain all the way up and then check out how the EQ sits on a bass. In this next setting, I want to go ahead and increase the bass quite a bit, not completely. I want to do a lower gain setting around 30, just see how that's. It sounded a little bit too dark, so I'm going to increase the treble a little bit, the high, then I'm going to roll the gain down a little bit more. So I would love to know in the comments below, do you have an HM-2 in your collection and how do you use it? There are a lot of different uses other than, you know, the one that I just did where it's everything all maxed out, of course. That's a really cool sound. It's a really signature sound, but there are a lot of other more tame sounds and maybe more useful sounds in the pedal, especially for different people's playing style. So let me know that in the comments below. If you did like this video, please subscribe to the channel. I want to send a huge thank you to my Patreon fam, my executive producers over on my Patreon page. You all are the best, and I cannot thank you enough. Again, let me know in the comments below if you have an HM-2 and how you use it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're doing well. I will see you in the next video.